you mentioned the Achilles.
Yeah.
And back when Kirk Cousins had his introductory press conference and he did the whole verbal diarrhea with all the different tampering, and there is one take on the tampering thing that I'll mention in a second as it relates to this. But he talked about passing a physical, and he said he passed a physical for everything but the Achilles. And it makes me think about the Jimmy Garoppolo angle from last year. And yeah, with Garoppolo, they had to stop everything and redo the contract and move money around because they made no commitment to him whatsoever until he was able to pass a physical after they realized his foot should have had surgery when he injured it in December of 2022. I really want to get my eyes on the Kirk Cousins contract because he said something about physical and Achilles, and I doubt that they have a way that they can get out of this thing if he has an issue. But if they do, man, that introduces something else to this as well, because we've seen this in the past where physicals are passed and physicals are flunked, possibly influenced by issues other than the sound medical advice of the person conducting the physical. But hey, remember, he was standing in front of the mound last time we saw him, throwing out the first pitch for the Braves. Standing in front of the mound. Why? We didn't want to get up on the mound and screw up his Achilles. Like, yeah, we don't know where that thing stands.
No, I know. That was the initial thought, right? That was the first tweet I put out about it on Thursday night. My first thought was, oh, man, they got to look at him. They've been working out a little bit, and they realize, like, he might not be ready for the start of the season. So they need somebody else. That was my initial thought, but they're adamant no with that right now. I mean, again, we don't know where the truth really is, but I don't know anything along those lines at this moment.
But you make a great point. If he's got to take days off during camp, and it gives Penix an opportunity to get out there, and launch some bombs,
right,
with or without the sound effects, that is just, they didn't think this through. They thought it was too simple. They thought it was too clean. They thought it was too easy, and they're learning the hard way. It's far more complicated. And Pete makes a good point. They should have learned all this.
Pete did do the job there.
Even though it turned out Matt Ryan was done based upon what we saw the year he went to Indianapolis in 2022, the relationship with Ryan was fine. They had worked out, and I remember this vividly, they had worked out a restructure of his contract because he had a sky-high cap number. The restructuring was leaked. It was reported, but they didn't file it because they decided they wanted to get in on the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes. They didn't come close because the Browns used the 5-year fully guaranteed contract, but it poisoned the relationship with Matt Ryan. Just merely exploring Deshaun Watson was enough to prompt a divorce with Matt Ryan. Now, maybe they're next-level geniuses, and they knew when it was time to move on, and everything worked out fine. And, well, has it really worked out fine with Desmond Ridder and Taylor Heineke? No. So I think they got lucky that Ryan was expiring that same year as it relates to not his life, but his football career. But they already screwed up a relationship with a starting quarterback once. And they mentioned Ryan when they were talking about longevity and succession. They already screwed it up once, and now they screwed it up again before it even begins. Before we even know who they will be playing week 1, they have screwed up the relationship with Kirk Cousins. They put a cloud over that, and they bring in the new guy who should be excited about his arrival in the NFL, and now he's the guy who what role does he play in this story? Is he the villain? Is he the good guy? Is he the hero? Is he the GOAT? What is he? And that shouldn't be how anybody's career starts, especially when you're a top quarterback and a top 10 pick.
No, agreed. It's odd, like you said. All he can do is go in there and go, Michael Penix Jr. is going to go in and go, wait, I've dealt with adversity before. I don't care. I believe in myself. And he's going to thrive a little bit. It's a little bit like, again, that alpha mentality of like, when you, he's limping a little bit. Let me show you how quick my feet are. Oh, he's just throwing this. Let me smash this one in there and show him who's the boss throwing this football. I mean, he's going to relish like, he's going to relish. They're giving him $100 million over 2 years, and I'm going to beat his ass every day in practice here. And then, yes, so he might be the villain. That's probably part of his attitude to a degree, but it's going to be villain where the team's going to love him. And that's going to be the problem because they're going to love him and they're going to love his talent. And he throws a spiral every throw. And he's one of the guys, right? And it's going to be hard to not have him take over as one of the leaders of the football team. I think it's going to be very natural for him to do that there in Atlanta.
Well, Cousins already had that dad joke on X about somebody saying to him at the cafeteria, he gives off dad energy. Who are the players going to gravitate to?
Exactly.
Dad? Or, one of the other kids. This makes it harder. This makes it harder for Cousins to lead. It makes it harder for Cousins to thrive. I feel bad for the guy. Hard to feel bad for somebody who won $100 million in football Powerball, but they sold him a bill of goods. They either affirmatively lied to him or they concealed the truth. And if he would have known, back to what we said earlier, if he would have known back in March, he would have stayed in Minnesota.
Definitely.
There's no way.
No way.
There's no way he takes that job if he knows. Crystal ball, look into the future. April 29, I wake up on a Monday. I go in for phase 2 of the offseason program. And we got hotshot, young, top 10 quarterback instead of getting somebody who's going to help me win. And I wonder, Chris, which way he's going to go. Is this red-hot poker for Cousins? Or does he say, here's my bank account information, just make sure the checks show up? I won't see you on Tuesdays. I was thinking about working on Tuesdays. Nah, you can work with Penix on Tuesdays. Work with your new toy on Tuesdays. I'm going to Brentano's on Tuesdays. I really wonder, like,
I hear
is he gonna say, you know what? If you're not all in, I'm not all in. If you're not going to use the 8th overall pick on a guy that's going to help this team get better now, I'm not going to turn my life upside down. I'm not going to give my life over to trying to win a Super Bowl when you had a top 10 pick where you could get an elite blue chip red star player to come in here and help us win now. And you don't do it. I change my life for you. I come to Atlanta for you. I rescue you from quarterback purgatory. And you don't use the 8th overall pick on a guy that's going to help me win and help you win and help us win. I'll see you Wednesday. I'll see you Monday for film review. I'll see you Wednesday for practice.
I know.
And don't worry about my tablet. You don't need to download the game plan. I'll look at it when I show up for work on Wednesday.
It'd be interesting. Or it goes the other way, where they're like, hey, Penix has been here on Tuesdays, and he's here all day, and then maybe he gets in there. I don't know. You're right.
I mean,
I'm with you.
What's
you
the
could
human
just be like,
reaction to this?
Yeah, like, geez,
what's
okay.
the human reaction to this?
Right.
If this is what you think of me, here's what I think of you.
Yeah, right.
If this is what you're going to do to me, here's what I'm going to do to you.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be the guy who shows up early and stays late. I'm not going to be the guy who gives up my day off. I'm not going to be the guy who neglects my family for all of football season to try to chase this dream that you're not helping me to. You're tying a hand behind my back.
Yeah.
You're not helping me. You're hindering me.
No.
Not only are you not getting a guy that will help us win, you are making my life harder by having this 8th overall pick rookie that the fans are holding up the signs. And I got guys in the locker room who I get a weird vibe from them now because they look at that bomb he threw out on the practice field. You're introducing a bunch of factors that are a detriment to. I know we're going to get emails. Oh, it's the first Monday after the draft, and you assholes spent 45 minutes talking about this. This is the biggest story by far coming out of the draft. Everything was feeling great with the Falcons, up and coming, rise up, et cetera, and they, to borrow one of your lines, although I haven't heard you say this specifically, they have self-sabotaged themselves.
Yeah, they have to a degree. Now, again, they're paying him $50 million this year. All we've seen from him is be professional and work and do all that. We've all been bothered by him not working on Tuesday, right? As the guy who's been the highest paid guy in an organization, right, for the last few years, and he doesn't work on Tuesday, yeah, that bothers people. There's no doubt. It would bother a lot of coaches in football if that was the case. I don't know if that would have changed this year or what this is going to do to that dynamic. I don't know. You're right about that. But, I mean, I know one of the first things Kirk Cousins said and what he said over and over was the big thing in Atlanta and why he was there was, yes, it's backed by, his wife's hometown and he's got family there and all of that and everything there. Great. But I want to win a Super Bowl. And now with this current situation, you're kind of like, you got 1 year. You got 1 year to do it. And if you don't win it, I don't know if you're going to get a second. You got 2 at the most. That's all you got, 2. And that just has got to be a big-time buzzkill for Cousins and the Cousins family.
And, he's got a no-trade clause, but a trade after this year, a trade after next year becomes a possibility. He would waive the no-trade clause to get out of that situation and go somewhere else. And we see all the quarterback movement now every year because – just like teams that have a bad season, they look for new coaches. Teams that have a bad season look for new quarterbacks. I don't know what the cap charge would be after 1 year. It would be fairly significant. They gave him a $50 million signing bonus that's spread out over 5 years. It'd be $36 million in dead money, I think, to trade him next year. But, we've been talking about bigger cap hits than that. I mean, as the cap goes up and up, these big cap hits don't mean as much relative to what they used to mean. $36 million when you still have Michael Penix with 2 years left on his slotted rookie deal before you can even give him a second contract. That wouldn't be that bad. One last point. I promised this earlier. I want to pay this off. I've gotten a bunch of emails from viewers. I haven't written about it yet, and I don't think I mentioned this on Friday, but one of the theories out there is the Falcons did what they did now because they're going to get whacked next year for tampering with Cousins,
right?
So they aren't going to have a first-round pick. If they decide next year is time to activate the succession plan, I think that they didn't think that far ahead. Just based upon the absence of any strategic thought from what they did, I really don't think it's next level. Well, you know what? We're going to lose our first-round pick next year because we really did blatantly tamper with Cousins. They're going to take our first-round pick next year, so we better draft our quarterback this year. I don't think that they were thinking of that. It might end up coincidentally working that way, but I don't think they were thinking of that.
Yeah, no, I don't seem to get that sense. I feel like we would have heard that a little bit throughout the league, somebody there. It sounds like that's still at the early stages of even being known what's going to actually happen with the whole tampering thing there. So, yeah, I don't buy that.
All right, well, it will continue to be a thing. We don't pick the stories pick us, and this is one that no one saw coming, no one expected, no one planned for it, and it really does introduce a bunch of different issues and questions that we'll be delving into as we hear more about how Michael Penix is doing, how Kirk Cousins is feeling, how their season gets started, how Cousins looks in the preseason, how Penix looks, et cetera, et cetera. It's going to be the gift that keeps on giving, or the nightmare that never ends if you're a Falcons fan. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.